I'd like to begin by introducing ourselves and sharing some of our background. We're a group of planners, architects, and landscape architects with a global practice. We specialize working in one-of-a-kind places with clients and communities of people who are like-minded about protecting those places. Frequently, this is in premier destinations ranging from wilderness to resorts to historic cities. Places like Costa Smeralda and Porto Cervo on the Sardinian coast, the Serengeti, where we're working with Singita Lodge and Paul Allen, or Sea Island, a classic barrier island resort off the Georgia coast, and in Rome, where we're restoring some 19th century villas off the Via Veneto. In the U.S., we've focused on high-end residential and resort communities, from master plans to the design of hotels, clubs, and private residences. Places like Palmetto Bluff in the Carolinas, where we worked with Duke Energy and Auberge Resorts, or Conyers Farm in backcountry Greenwich, where we designed a community around high goal polo, and in California, the 20,000-acre Santa Lucia Preserve in Carmel Valley, where we worked with Pacific Union Company and the Trust for Public Land. We've enjoyed a long relationship, something over 20 years with East-West Partners, beginning with the mountain resorts Bachelor Gulch at Vail and Empire Pass at Deer Valley. And we're pleased to now be working with them here in Hawaii as well. Hawaii's always been a very special place for us. Our partner Bob Hart began his practice as part of the original planning team on the State Capitol project in Honolulu. Over the years, we've also worked with some of the institutions in the state, such as Queen Emma Foundation and the Parker Ranch. Down the coast, we were the master planners and architects for Discovery Land at Kukio. And close by here, just above your third green, we designed a residence for Mark Benioff as architects and landscape architects. The Mauna Kea Beach Hotel has always been the reference standard for our work throughout the islands. Its distinctive combination of landscape and architecture, along with the spectacular natural setting, demonstrates a complete resort environment at its very best. Moreover, the resort also demonstrates a way of life to those who visit, and many have stayed and built homes here, establishing a community at Mauna Kea as an extension of the characteristic qualities of the hotel Rockefeller established. With this in mind, we've been asked to complete the vision of Rockefeller, making it better with new amenities for the hotel and some new residences on its grounds, effectively blending with and extending the ambience of the hotel and the Mauna Kea community. We began our work by studying the land. Our first impressions are the extraordinary setting and the landscape that's evolved here on the Kahala coast. Gently sloping lava flow with views both to Mauna Kea and the vast Pacific, and a beautiful, one-of-a-kind beach. Rockefeller, it seems, introduced a new landscape first, with extensive plantings and golf. Then he set the buildings and roads into it, dramatizing the relationship with the big-scale surrounding landscape. It's impressive how that framework landscape of Mauna Kea then extends seamlessly beyond the hotel grounds through the community. As we got started, we wanted to analyze the Mauna Kea resort setting and what the patterns of landform, landscape, and buildings would reveal. So we did a series of maps. We mapped topography to understand slope, elevation, and how the extended views inland would work. We looked at winter and summer sun angles. We studied the prevailing and seasonal winds and breezes. We mapped the framework of screening vegetation and trees. We were confirming that the proposed development areas in WCIT's current master plan had flatter topography and elevations where views from existing homes would not be affected. In other words, places where a landscape framework of topography and vegetation would allow new buildings to blend with the overall resort landscape. We also began by studying some of the thinking that went into the architecture, not just of the Grand Lady, the main building, SOM's original design, but the little sister ancillary buildings like the Pavilion that were added later by Wimberley's office. We were looking for the best ways to blend with and extend the distinctive style, look, and ambience of this classic place. Some of the characteristics that we admired were the clean geometric lines, the horizontal planes that created the floating 3 and now 4-story structure of the main building. The atrium open to the sky and the views out to the coast. The indoor-outdoor transitions are seamless. You're never quite sure when you're inside and outside. And of course, the qualities of subdued lighting everywhere and the art collection displayed throughout the hotel. Every public room and every private guest room throughout the hotel has a companion outdoor space, lanais and balconies that are shaded by trellises and landscape. Throughout the hotel grounds, there's a pervasive landscape by Garrett Eckbo that keeps the guests in touch with nature. In the smaller buildings, there's elements of Eastern and Western architecture. We admired the broad sheltering roof planes, sliding glass in the walls, screens, louvers for cross ventilation, and wherever there's glass, it's always recessed and in shadow, so it does not reflect. We then went to apply some of those ideas to the new additions program for the hotel. In the area above the main kitchen, we've studied a 1-story addition for a spa and fitness center, along with an adjacent lap pool. It works with the circulation patterns within the public spaces of the hotel and the grounds. And then taking a look at some of the expression of architecture there, we've applied some of the hotel's characteristic architectural elements: broad horizontal forms, open public areas, and materials: wood, copper, and lava rock. Here are some computer simulated elevations of the spa and fitness facility. In the top, we've applied some of the design characteristics in more detail. Again, the wood, the lava rock, copper roof, some of the colors that we saw in the pavilion buildings. In the lower study shows the 1-story elevation against the north tower of the hotel, showing its 4-story mass behind the single-story addition. Here's a photo montage, a before and after, the before on top and the after below, of the existing conference facilities that would be repurposed for fitness. The slide below shows how the addition of a lap pool would be added, and that's Infinity Edge becoming a water feature along the walk on the way to the tennis garden. At the hotel's main pool, we're proposing a widening of the terraces, along with renovations of the pool itself. We've also studied 3 types of residences to be fit within the grounds of the resort. First, a single-story residence of 3 to 4 bedrooms, which opens wide to views and outdoor spaces. These are sited along the 2nd hole and on 3 sites south of the hotel below the 10th hole. This residential architecture emphasizes the long, horizontal, sheltering roof forms of its predecessors. Walls that open out, linking each room to lanais, giving each room a companion outdoor space. Here's a 2-story residence mixed in and adjacent to tennis and the 2nd hole. Its architecture repeats those same characteristic elements. Finally, here's a larger residence with guest cottage, 1 and 2 stories, adjacent to the tennis garden. It too carries out the distinctive Mauna Kea architecture, landscape, and combination of architectural elements. Here are the 3 house types laid out in the areas north and south of the hotel. At the north, along the 2nd hole are sited 2 of the single-story and 6 of the 2-story villas in the blue and the light red, numbered 1 through 8. Circulation and parking for these are organized along a narrow shared access drive. These houses are well screened by existing vegetation from existing residences above them, and from here they'll enjoy views across the 2nd and 3rd golf holes to the ocean. Adjacent to the tennis are groups of larger villa residences on the oceanfront sites. There are 5 in total, and those are in the darker red, numbers 9, 10, 19, 20, and 21. And behind them at higher elevations where they can look out from above are 3 of the 2-story villas in the lighter orange, numbers 11 through 18. Parking for these residences is organized in a residence garage adjacent, and pedestrian and cart access to the residences is provided by a system of interconnected pathways. Sites for 3 of the updated single-story villas are laid out on an extension of the hotel drive extending beyond the golf club and below the 10th hole, south of the beachfront tower. These units will enjoy framed views through the existing trees to the beach and beyond. The elevations of these lots are at 50, 40, and 50. And assuming a 15-foot height for these 3 residences, they're well below the elevations of the nearest Mauka lots. They're up higher at elevations 87 up to 106. In addition, they're well screened from the view from these taller lots by the dense vegetation at the edge of the golf course along hole number 10. And looking back from the beach, the existing trees on the lawn and hillside will screen them from those views as well. We've studied a sequence of before and after views from key locations, indicated here by the numbered red dots with arrows. The first view from along the entry drive at the north in the resort shows a before view on the top and an after view, after construction that is, on the bottom. It shows the 2-story villa there just north of the tennis courts and behind the 3rd tee. There you can see the existing vegetation. Will do a good job of screening it. That vegetation, of course, will be supplemented by new landscape with the house itself. From about that same point, looking in the other direction, here's the site for the 2-story villas along the second leg of the second hole, back in the existing parking lot, well screened by existing vegetation. Here we are on the second green looking back at those proposed villas. Again, well screened by existing vegetation and supplemented by new landscape as well. We wanted to get a look at those same villas from up high in the neighborhood of the Mauna Kea Villas, up above the first green and practice tee. Here we are looking out directly at that line of trees beyond which is that group of villas. We believe that the existing vegetation, as is, will do a very good job of screening those. It would be supplemented by the site development of the villas themselves. Here's a view from the terrace just outside the dining area of the hotel, looking into the 2-story villas. We think the colors that we've got in mind for the architecture will help the buildings recede rather than advance toward the viewer and let the existing landscape dominate their appearance. Another view of those same villas from along the trail near the tennis courts. From that same trail, but walking back in the opposite direction towards the hotel before and after. Finally, in that same area, a view of the 2-story villas that are in the area adjacent to the tennis garden approach. These are existing trees in the landscape there now, which should be preserved and used to fine-tune the siting of these houses in the final stages. Here are before and after views of the houses up around the tennis gardens from the beach and lawn at the Parker Cottage. Looking north shows that those houses are nicely nestled in amongst the existing vegetation of the tennis garden. And here's some before and after shots from the beach looking Mauka to the 3 lots south of the hotel. There, the dense vegetation does a very good job of screening the sites we have in mind there. Finally, here's some before and after shots from the residences above the 10th fairway, looking Mackay towards the 3 single lots with single-story villas. There, we've got 50 feet of vertical change between the lots, and that, along with the existing vegetation, will screen these from view. With that as an overview, I'd like to thank you for our meeting. And as we proceed, we'd welcome any observations or questions